We have a speaker presenting from Atlanta, USA. She is Udiksha Nagaraj Kapini, currently doing her master's in Building Information Systems in Georgia Institute of Technology at Atlanta. She is an architect graduated from RV College of Architecture, Bengaluru last year. At present, working as a graduate assistant at her university in Department of Capital Planning and Space Management, Georgia Tech, Atlanta. She has done her internships at CCBA Designs Private Limited Pune, Education Design Consultants Bangalore, and summer internships at Verve Group and Kamenzen Evolution Design for Flipkart. She has been an exceptional student throughout. Her achievements are as under: CET rank holder with scholarship for BIASH Wade Asia Student Project Award, National Design Award, A3F Passion Perfect Student Award, and she was also selected and traveled to Japan for Genesis Kizuna project under Japan East Asia Network of Exchange for Students. Udiksha will present her paper on architectural technologies in post-pandemic design trends. Over to you, Udiksha. You can go ahead with your presentation.
So I was just saying I would like to thank Kirti ma'am and my mother for giving me this opportunity to present at TOSA and CSEM, and it's a wonderful opportunity to put forward your work and showcase it to a lot of students and hopefully gain knowledge from others as well. So I'll not to waste any more time, I'm just going to start sharing my presentation, and which will be on architectural technologies in post-pandemic design trends. Feel free to ask me a question in the chat if you need to. So as I was saying, I would be talking about architectural technologies in post-pandemic design trends. So moving on, so I would just a brief introduction about myself. Currently, I'm a Master of Science student in architecture at Georgia Tech, and I'm specializing or majoring in building information systems and modeling. And I have a background of a bachelor's in architecture from RV College in 2019. I have a more keen interest towards data integration and visualization techniques in architectural technologies. So just a brief introduction, and all the topics that I would be going through in this talk would be the current scenario and how it's affecting our daily lives and how it's affecting our built environment. Next would be virtual design and construction, which is a very sought after technique for managing various techniques and various systems involved in architecture. Then coming to the architectural design trends, so when it comes to the designing, planning, spatial formats that we might see in the near future because of this pandemic. And the next would be the most visually appealing, interactive, experiential format of learning for interaction as well as for entertainment. And something that is more on the health related side, and how to keep a check on how the virus is spreading would be real time building data analysis, and how all this feeds back into sensor analysis and sensor data that could be finally visualized. And as a bigger and more impactful gesture would be urban design and planning, which would have to take into account a lot of factors when it comes to social distancing and how traffic is moved about, how pedestrian movement is controlled. And finally, I would just give you my summary of how I think the future or the near future of architectural design would be, considering the trends in social distancing. So some of the keywords that I compiled for this presentation and how I would be focusing on such keywords would be spatial proximity analysis and how it feeds back into urban planning and design, VDC, which is virtual design and construction, which is a very sought after field of engineering and construction as well. Next would be digital interaction, which can be in the form of learning, or it could be in the form of entertainment or just interaction in terms of communication. Next would be gesture recognition, which is a powered by AI and IoT to provide a touchless technology system in the near future, which was a very big possibility that we might notice. And finally, would be energy models. How energy modeling is very important when it comes to trying to deal with the indoor built environment and the health of buildings in general. So, as we all know, this pandemic of COVID-19, which is continually upending and disrupting our lives across the globe, and it has become very evident that this will affect our built environment and how spaces are conceived in the future. And the role of how building technologies and building specific technologies and softwares will finally play such a big role in how to interact with people, how to interact with built environment, how to interact with nature. All this will be explored in a wide aspect. So as you see in the map of how the COVID spread changed so drastically, it's very important that we come up with a solution immediately to deal with this widespread pandemic. So this definitely calls for a post-pandemic design revolution, which I believe will be noticed in the near future, and how we will take into account a number of factors while designing, while planning, while executing. So this term I would suggest, or I would coin as post-pandemic design revolution. So, as we all know that a lot of plans, a lot of strategies are being conducted presently to keep social distancing in mind, to keep the 6 feet, to keep people from going out lesser, and how this will all be narrowed down based on pedestrian movement and things like that. So these are some of the basic things that we will definitely see in the near future, and how innovative solutions to office planning, to hotels, or even hospitals will be affected in all of this. So the engagement in terms of how the project is managed and how the data can be efficiently layered is something that is very important at this point in the year. And this could also be used as a virtual experience of events. So, as you all know, festivals play such a big role in the cultural identity of a place, and there are already implemented techniques where the entire festival could be virtually online, and you could still get the same experience. So one aspect would be the holographic fireworks that happen on 4th of July here in the United States in very few parts. It's not implemented everywhere. And on the right that you see is a circus that has completely holographic projections of animals. So it's also animal friendly, and they don't have to be harmed in this process. So the next topic would be virtual design and construction, which is a BIM level management of projects. So with this pandemic and having to maintain social distancing, it is difficult to carry out site functions. So, but with virtual design, you can pre-analyze and pre-plan all your events virtually. And as you see in the diagram here, you can overlay or retrofit your design or your analysis onto the existing structure and see the process. So, and this also helps in collaborative meeting, and it has proven to be more efficient during this pandemic by a lot of companies here in the United States. So, VDC is very compatible with remote working environments, and using technologies by Autodesk has definitely proven to be very useful. So some of the projects that I have listed are on the right, and this is a layering of how BIM can be completely virtual and can be collaborated with a number of people without having to interfere and have constant meetings when conflicts occur. And as I mentioned before, we would see strict guidelines in terms of how they're maintaining distances between people, distances between lines and queues, and all of this will tie down to how they are integrated on a larger plan or the urban design level. And as you all know, smart city concept is not a very new concept, but such things are proving to be more relevant now, and people are giving more importance to such techniques so that they can easily feed data onto buildings and have data integrated architectural planning systems, so that it is easier to monitor the spaces, have sensors in each of these spaces, and it would be easy to manage the entry points. They can track contact tracing. They can guide people around more easily, have temperature checks, heat mapping, and things like that. And such physical assets that are represented digitally are called digital twins. And such digital twins are powered by IoT and AI, and they can predict and even give you data analysis or data analytics, as we say, for future predictions of monitoring and resource planning. So if building is monitored entirely through sensors, then if one area is shown to have a higher heat map because of a number of people entering, or if one person might be contracted as positive, then the lockdown system of the entire building could be tracked and mapped from that one single room to the entire complex. So what you see above is a brief, it's a very small example of how Shift Architecture Urbanism Studio is practicing their guidance and their line system in terms of social distancing. So in a more interactive format, I would see this this experience of post-pandemic design trends more towards gestural and sensory-driven recognition. So gesture recognition is not a new concept, but a lot of technology and a lot of research is going on in this field. And with this pandemic and having to do with it being a contact based virus, and how contact is very crucial in spreading this virus, it has become more and more important to have a touchless a touchless or contactless technology service, so that you are minimizing exchange or minimizing interaction with objects that might be constantly in touch with a lot of people. So such kind of technologies often have interaction with keypads or buttons or just gestural interfaces. So as you see on the right, this is our tech house in NYC, and they have complete projections to give you a holographic experience of what they're trying to portray. And they have multiple topics and multiple exhibitions for various months of the year, and they provide a completely different experience. And the reason I put this reference is so we can definitely see this as an example when they are trying to create in an urban design level of how they want to create parking systems, or if they want to create pedestrian walking systems. Such things can be overlaid or retrofitted in an urban design context. So, and next coming to the gestures, I'm sure these gestures are very common, but we would see this widely used in a lot of places, such as traffic lights or at the grocery stores, where there is already contactless payment. So now you could see contactless door entry movements or lifts, and anything that requires human to human interaction. And some of the projects that I worked on also show the same or similar experience of having to do with buttons or AR or VR. So the example that I'm showing here is how easily you can develop a basic overlay or retrofitting of a digital asset or a physical asset to show you how you can use AR or VR to manipulate your existing surroundings. And so I'm sure all of you know the smart home technologies, which is you have an entire integrated system of tracking your entire home systems, from your lighting to your electricity to your heating system or ventilation systems to your Wi-Fi. All of it is linked, and you can operate it all with just your phone, or just a device, and from any part of the world. So this technology is being developed further to give you a virtual learning experience. And just yesterday, all of you know that Geo released Geo Glass, which is a mixed reality holographic experience, which is used to enhance the learning experience. So it's not a very new concept, but people are implementing it at a faster rate, as you see, because of this pandemic. So this technology is going to be widely used in the near future and has a lot of scope in terms of adapting to new environments and new people and a lot of locations together. This will actually bridge the gap between virtual and in-person learning. And the original HoloLens product is by Microsoft, which is similar to GeoGlass, but the HoloLens is on a more higher side, and it is used mostly for VR and more on the installation or digitally created virtual reality side. But now people are realizing how important it is in terms of virtual learning. So hence, people are releasing more startups and more technologies to deal with virtual learning and interaction. So as you see here, the same concept can be applied to entertainment and visuals as a gallery or a recreational space. This is a digital art garden in Tokyo, and it's only using light beams and it's connected with a system where each of these are displayed different at different times and to give you a different graphic experience. And this finally leads on to how you can use this kind of data linked to the building as an energy concept. So how energy plays an important role in the current scenario when it comes to the virus spread. So it's very important to have the air changes per hour at a fixed rate. And as you know, WHO recently gave out a statement that this virus can also be airborne and it's also traveling as droplets, as they had mentioned very earlier. So it's very important to have indoor health of the building to represent that it is continually changing its air. So the same air is not being circulated, and hence the ventilation system comes into a very important aspect at this point of time. It is very crucial to have airflow dynamics in place of enclosed spaces, and this is where energy models come into picture, and how architects should really focus on having their ventilation systems and have natural ventilation as much as possible wherever it's favorable, and also have it feed onto a real-time data system that could analyze and track the kind of changes or the trends in the graphs that it might be producing in terms of temperature or humidity, and this could easily be computed, and it would give you a quantified data that could be easily analyzed and give you a report on how the building is performing in terms of energy consumption, in terms of how its ventilation system is doing, or if it needs to be changed or improved to deal with the virus spread. And finally, coming to the urban design or planning level, this would be a more spatial and a more visual connect level. So how you could connect with the outdoors. So with work from home and study from home and virtual learning, it has become very important to all of us to have a connect with the outside world without having to go outside. So balconies, porches, terraces are really crucial spaces, and this is the only connect we get to the outside nature. So designing for such spaces is very important, and having great views or having good views to the outside is very important for mental health, as well as to have a good amount of interaction with the outside world if not having to go outside in person. So this is one of the projects that I worked on my previous semesters, which deals with how you can capture maximum views from any location in your site, and how you could place your furniture to give you maximum views from one particular spot in your building. So it could be applied to conditions now wherein you have a new site or you have a flat where which is ongoing, and you want to see where you could place your double height windows or just your windows to get maximum views. You could use this technique of having to find maximum view widths from a particular point in your site to the vantage points of interest outside your site. So this reverse isoist approach is to obtain optimum views in an urban design setting, and it could definitely be used in as a post-pandemic urban administration. It could be used at traffic signals. It could be used as pedestrian at pedestrian walkway bridges to show you how you could get a maximum view at a crossing. And finally, it could be used as a CCTV system for surveillance, and it has a lot of other applications as well. But this is mostly to capture maximum views and to have a comfortable indoor setting um, in this particular time of the pandemic. And just to summarize all the technologies that I spoke about, it is still very at a very basic level. People are still scrambling to find out how we can quickly, revive and go back to how things were initially. And there are a lot of architectural environmental changes where there is a lot of distancing involved, a lot of controlling of traffic movements, having alternate shifts, and it's very crucial right now to have indoor climate health and indoor environments and the enclosed spaces to be looked at in a more important manner to give you a more safe feeling instead of having to deal with closed confined spaces with very bad ventilation systems. So spatial quality right now, it plays a very big role in terms of experience, in terms of health, and in terms of views and how it finally ties back to how we respond to the virus and how we respond to it emotionally as our mental health at this stage. So these environments can benefit from using these technologies such as BIM and BDC. It can be used at various levels of construction. The digital technologies that I spoke about could be a post construction objective where you could add on features of gestural movements and things like that. But on a more pre-designed phase, you could go about planning bigger porches, bigger balconies, and see how you can tie that back to distancing, and as well as having a strict metric system in terms of planning of units and at a larger level, at an urban design level as well. For today, and thank you for joining. If you have any questions, I'm happy to them right now.
Yeah, thank you, Udiksha.
Thank you so much, Udiksha, for sharing your amazing thoughts on post-pandemic design trends. Indeed, it was a very good and informative presentation. And also, thank you for your time. Hope to see all your thoughts reality. All the very best.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ketan. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Udiksha.